Hey guys, welcome back. So this time we'll be reviewing bisect, trisect, and midpoints. So let's take a look at number 4. So number 4 says segment RM has a midpoint at L, and they give us the coordinates, and it tells us one of the endpoints, R, is at 10, -7. The question that they want us to answer is finding the coordinates of the other endpoint, M. So a good rule of thumb in geometry, guys, is if there's no diagram already drawn for you, make one for yourself just to give yourself a visual. So I've gone ahead and labeled it with the information I was given. So one of the endpoints is at R, and I've labeled that right here. And then our midpoint, they said that the midpoint was L, and I said that right here. Okay, so I know that what's nice about the diagram, or once I've drawn it in, is that I can kind of get an estimate of where the other endpoint is going to be. So I've gone ahead and put that down here. That's what we're trying to find, okay? So to help us find that, one way that we can do it, because we know in math there's multiple pathways to arrive at your answer, is by using the slope to help us find it. So we're going to use our slope and figure out what our change in y was. So to get from one of my endpoints R to L, I went from -7 to -10, and that was a change in y of 3. It went down 3. So that means then to find the y coordinates of the other endpoint, I'm going to go down 3 from 10. So let's see, we're going to do -10 minus 3, and that's going to give me -13. So the y coordinate for my endpoint is -13. Now we're going to follow a similar rule, but we're going to find our change in x. So let's see. To go from 10 to -8, that was a change in y of, or not a change in y, that was a change in x of 18. So I went to the left 18, so I went -18. So change in x is -18, which means our change in x to get from the midpoint to the x value here has to stay the same. So I'm going to do -8 minus 18. And so that means that's going to give me an x value of -26. And there we go. That's our other endpoint. So our other endpoint is at -26, comma, -13. Now, if you don't like this way, another way that you can do it is by using the midpoint formula. And remember, the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And what we can do is we can substitute the values in for our one of the endpoints, and we're going to leave the variable for the other endpoint. So for example, if I was trying to find the x value here, I would put in 10. I don't know what the endpoint for m is, so I would leave that as x2 divided by 2. But I know the x coordinate for the endpoint is at -8. So if I work backwards here, I'll find that x value. And when you do that, you'll find that the x value is going to be -26. Okay, and you can do the same thing for the y's. So if you set that up, that's going to be -7 plus y2 divided by 2 equals -10. So if you work backwards from here, you'll get the same values that we got as if we drew, just like we drew in the diagram. Okay, so let's take a look at number 5. So let's take a look at the information that was given to me. So C is the midpoint of AD. So if C is the midpoint of AD, I want to go ahead and mark that in my diagram. So that means that AC is congruent to CD. That's what that means. So I'm going to mark that as congruent, and I'm going to mark that congruent with circles here. Cool. So then the next thing, or the next piece of information they give me, is that B is the midpoint of AC. So then if that's true, then that means that AB is congruent to BC. So I'm going to mark that with different tick marks to show that that's congruent. Okay, cool. So now let's figure out what the value of X and AC is. Well, to get there, I need expressions for everything that I don't have so far. Well, I know that AB is congruent to BC. So if AB is 2x minus 1, that means BC must also be 2x minus 1. So I'm going to label that right here. Okay. Now, I know that to get to AC, so this whole thing, So AC is basically the two yellow highlighted portions. So that's going to be segment AB plus segment BC. And segment AB has the expression 2x minus 1. BC has the expression 2x minus 1. And now I've got an expression for AC. And I can combine like terms. So let's see. So AC equals 2x plus 2x. That's going to be 4x minus 2. Okay, so that means this whole thing that I just highlighted in green, that has the expression 4x minus 2. Oh, but if AC is 4x minus 2, then that means CD is also 4x minus 2. So I'm also going to label that right here. Okay, now I'm able to figure out what x is because I know that if I know AD, that whole segment, so this whole thing that I'm highlighting in pink, that's made up of AC, so the two green pieces, AC plus CD. Well, they gave me an expression for AD. So they told me AD was this, 7x plus 3. So I'm going to replace that right here in the equation that I just wrote. And I know that AC has the expression 4x minus 2, and so does CD. And now I've got an equation that I can solve. I'm going to put a line down the middle here so that I can keep my thoughts organized. All right, so I want to combine like terms. Here we go, 4x and 4x. That's going to give me 8x. And then negative 2 minus 2, so that's going to give me minus 4 equals 7x plus 3. Okay, awesome. I want to move all of my variables to one side. So I want to move 7x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. And I'm left with 3 equals, let's see, 8x minus 7x. That just means I'm left with just 1x minus 4. And I want to move that 4 over, so I'm going to add 4. 3 plus 4, that's 7. So I now have solved for x. So x is 7. But that's not it. We're not done yet because they will also want us to find the value of AC. Well, I know my expression for AC. It's right here. I figured that out earlier. So what I can do is I can take this value for x and plug it into that expression. So that's what I'm going to do over here to the side. So AC is 4x minus 2. And so instead of writing the x, I'm going to do 4 parentheses 7 minus 2. So 4 times 7 is 28. And then 28 minus 2 is 26. So that means then that AC equals 26. And we're done.